Begin each day like it could be your last, because one day it will be. Have you ever opened your eyes in the morning and forgot what a miracle that is? The alarm buzzes. Your phone lights up with missed messages, notifications, deadlines. You stretch, yawn, and dive into your day like it's just another one on the assembly line. But stop for a second. Really stop. Because here's the truth you rarely confront, but can't afford to ignore. You could die today. Before you flinch, let me clarify. This isn't about fear. It's about clarity. It's about waking up not just from sleep, but from autopilot. You see, most people walk through their mornings like they're guaranteed another one. Like this life is a draft version and they'll get to the real thing someday. But the Stoics, those old warriors of the mind, they had no such illusion. They trained themselves to rise each morning with a sharp, sobering question. What if today is the day? Not to panic, to prioritize, not to grieve life, to fully live it. Seneca wrote, "Let us prepare our minds as if we had come to the very end of life. Not to be morbid, to be present. Because when you carry death in your awareness, you stop carrying trivial things in your heart. You don't snap at your partner over the wrong kind of coffee. You don't scroll past your child's voice calling your name. You don't miss the beauty in the rain just because your socks got wet. You see, remembering death isn't about giving up. It's about waking up. Let me tell you about my friend Michael. One morning he got into a motorcycle accident. Laid out on the pavement, everything hurt. He didn't think about money. Didn't think about career. Didn't think about Instagram. He thought about one thing. The words he said to his wife that morning. Hush. Rushed. Pointless. He survived. And from that day forward, he never left home without kissing her goodbye. Not from fear, but from clarity. That's what Stoic practice looks like. It's not grand. It's not theatrical. It's daily. Deliberate. Deeply human. So here's your first morning meditation. Before you pick up your phone, before your feet hit the ground, pause. Ask, if today were my last, who would I see? What would I say? What would I refuse to carry into another day? Then do one thing. Smile. Honest. Brave. Text someone you've been avoiding. Apologize without condition. Cancel a plan that drains your soul. Look your loved one in the eye and actually be there. Because when you live like death is near, not looming, but guiding, your day transforms. Every moment becomes sharper. The coffee tastes richer. The traffic doesn't anger you. The silence doesn't scare you. Why? Because you're finally here. Alive. And suddenly, even the ordinary becomes sacred. Let me give you a practice. Every morning, take 30 seconds to write down one simple answer. If today were the last day, I would. Not a bucket list. Not a big, cinematic dream. Something small. Real. Close to your heart. I would finally say thank you to my dad. I would go outside and watch the sunrise instead of checking my feed. I would stop arguing just to be right. Then do it. Not because it's convenient. Because it's true. And over time, this will change you. It won't make you anxious. It will make you awake. That's the power of memento mori. Remember, you will die. Not as a threat. As an invitation. To stop postponing presence. To stop sleeping through your own life. To stop being owned by things you won't care about when the curtain falls. So let me ask you now. Are you awake yet? Not just physically. Mentally. Spiritually. Emotionally. Or are you still bargaining with the day? Telling yourself there's always later. Always tomorrow. Always time. Here's the thing. One day, that'll stop being true. But until then, you've been given this one. This breath. This moment. This sunrise. What will you do with it? Live like it's yours. Because it is. And because one day, it won't be. Own the morning, Own the mind begins from the inside out. The moment you wake up, a war begins. Before your feet touch the ground, the world rushes in. Notifications, tasks, deadlines, opinions. The expectations of others flood your consciousness before you've even remembered your own. And if you're really not careful, you begin your day already defensive, already reacting, already behind. But here's the truth. You don't have to start your day on someone else's terms. The Stoics believed that the morning was just a routine. It was a sacred window, a portal into the most powerful force you possess, your attention. Marcus Aurelius didn't check messages or consult his advisors first thing in the morning. He opened his journal and faced his mind. He wrote things like, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love." He reminded himself not to get irritated by fools, not to fall for praise or insults, not to waste time on what he couldn't control. Why? Because if your first thought in the morning is reactive, the rest of your day becomes reaction. But if your first thought is intentional, it plants a flag. It says, "This day is mine." Not the world's. Not my inbox says. Not my anxiety is. Mine. So let's talk practice. What does a Stoic morning look like? It begins with stillness. Before you reach for your phone, before you enter the noise, use it with yourself. No filters. No distraction. Just presence. Even 2 minutes can change everything. You breathe. You return. You remember, I am not just a body with a schedule. I am a mind with a mission. Then you ask the most important question of your day. What kind of person will I be today? Not what will I get done. Not how will I prove myself. Not how can I control the outcomes. But who will I choose to be, regardless of the world's chaos? Because let's be honest, you can't control how your boss treats you. You can't control whether your friends reply. You can't control the traffic, the news, the market, or the weather. But you can control your tone, your posture, your breath, your integrity, your patience. And in that space between stimulus and response, you become free. Epictetus said, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." That's not just a mantra. It's a blueprint. Each morning, you rehearse your values before you rehearse your calendar. Because if you don't, you'll spend your entire day doing things that don't match who you want to be. You'll be productive but misaligned, busy but unsatisfied, accomplished but anxious. That's the cost of skipping your mental grounding. So here's your morning framework: Stoic minus style. Stillness before stimulation. Delay your phone. Delay inputs. Anchor in breath. Clarity before action. Ask what matters most today, not what's urgent, what's essential. Virtue before victory. Choose one quality to embody: patience, courage, discipline, love. Say it aloud. Carry it like armor. Perspective before pressure. Remind yourself, I control my response. Nothing else owns me. Presence before performance. Your value is not in how much you achieve, it's in how you show up. Let me tell you about a man named Rob. Former executive. Brilliant, but broken. Itchy to wake up and immediately dive into the day. Emails, news, stress, meetings. He was rich, respected, and perpetually burned out. Until one morning, a friend sent him a Marcus Aurelius quote. The things you think about determine the quality of your mind. Your soul takes on the color of your thoughts. That line haunted him. He realized, I've been feeding my mind junk the moment I wake up and wondering why I feel poisoned all day. So he tried something different. First 10 minutes of the day, no tech. Just breath. Reflection. A single journal line. Who do I want to be today? At first, it felt pointless. Then something shifted. He stopped rushing into conflict. He stopped numbing his stress with more work. He became more himself, less reactive, more grounded. All from a 10-minute ritual. That's the Stoic morning. It doesn't need to look perfect. It needs to be yours. So tomorrow, try this. Before you rise, pause. Before you check the world, check in with yourself. Yes? Am I entering this day with intention or inertia? Because how you start your morning, that's how you start your mind. Control the inner world because that's where freedom begins. There's a simple truth that could liberate you today if you're willing to accept it. You don't control most of what happens to you. You don't control the weather. You don't control traffic. You don't control other people's moods, opinions, or behavior. You don't control the economy. You don't control the past. You don't even control most of your thoughts as they arise. But here's the paradox. Most people live like they do. And that illusion, that fantasy of control, is what keeps them exhausted, bitter, and reactive. Because every time reality doesn't match your expectations, you suffer. You feel personally wronged by randomness. You take it as a betrayal. But the Stoics? They didn't think like that. They started each day with a mental distinction, one so profound it's still changing lives, thousands of years later. Epictetus called it the dichotomy of control. Some things are up to us, and some things are not. And the quality of your day, the quality of your life, depends on knowing the difference. Let's break this down. You don't control whether today's a sunny day, but you control whether you complain or appreciate. You don't control whether someone cuts you off in traffic, but you control whether you curse for 30 minutes or breathe it out in 3. You don't control whether your message gets ignored, but you control whether you spiral into insecurity or move forward with dignity. That's the work. Not controlling the world, but controlling your response to it. Marcus Aurelius would remind himself every morning, "Today, I will meet people who are selfish, ignorant, rude, and arrogant." Not because he was cynical, because he was ready. When you expect imperfection, you stop being shocked by it. You stop taking it personally. You stop losing your peace to things that don't deserve it. Let me ask you, how much of your energy is being wasted right now on things you can't control? How much of your day is ruled by invisible expectations that life should be easier, people should be kinder, things should have worked out by now? That word "should" is the silent thief of your peace. Replace it with "it is." It is raining. He is late. They didn't respond. It didn't go to plan. And now what will I do with what is? That's Stoicism. Radical ownership. Not over the world, but over yourself. So let's make it practical. There's a daily exercise you can use to train this. The 2-column reflection. At the end of the day, take 3 minutes. Draw 2 columns. Left out of my control. Right within my control. Now list 3 things from your day in each. Left might be a delayed project, someone's attitude, a negative news story. Right might be how you responded to the delay, whether you matched their attitude or stayed centered, whether you let the news hijack your mind or protected your focus. Over time, you'll start to see the pattern. Almost everything you suffer about belongs in the left column. Almost everything that brings you strength lives in the right. That awareness alone, it can change everything. Let me tell you a short story. There was a man named Jonah. He ran a tech company, lost everything when the market crashed. He blamed investors, politicians, algorithms, raged for months, until one night, his father, an old Midas school farmer, said, "You can't yell at the storm, but you can fix your roof." That line hit him hard. Jonah stopped cursing what happened, started building again. He couldn't recover what was lost, but he built something leaner, stronger, wiser. Not because the world got easier, but because he got better at navigating it. That's what happens when you shift from external control to internal power. You stop being a victim of circumstances and become a co-creator of your own response. The Stoics were warriors of the inner world. They weren't emotionally numb. They were emotionally disciplined. They didn't avoid pain. They met it head on with clarity, with courage, with intention. And now you can too. So as you enter tomorrow, carry this with you. You are not here to control the weather. You are here to control the sail. You are not here to bend the world to your will. You are here to move through it with presence. You are not here to escape discomfort. You are here to rise above reaction. And the more you live that truth, the freer you become. Because the strongest person in any room is never the loudest. It's the one who doesn't need the room to change in order to remain whole. Begin within self-examination as a morning ritual. Before you check your schedule, before you dress your body, dress your mind. Because if you don't know who you are, how will you know what to protect? If you don't know what you value, how will you know what to defend? And if you don't know what you stand for, how will you know when you've drifted? This is why Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man in Rome, began his day in stillness, writing not to the world, but to himself. No audience, no performance, no flattery, only one goal: to remember what kind of man he intended to be. That's the real morning power ritual, not the supplements, not the cold plunges, not the grind set podcast. It's this quiet, ancient question. Am I aligned? Am I thinking clearly? Am I reacting or responding? Am I acting out of ego or purpose? Because it doesn't matter how productive you are if you're reproducing from the wrong place. It doesn't matter how disciplined you are if your direction is off. Speed is irrelevant if you're racing toward the wrong life. So take a moment now. Ask yourself, not as a performance, but as a practice. What kind of human am I becoming based on my daily thoughts, words, and actions? Not intentions. Not philosophies. Behaviors. Because in Stoic practice, the only measure of wisdom is action. Seneca said, "Don't explain your philosophy. Embody it." And that begins with knowing the gap between your standards and your habits. Let me offer you a practice. Each morning, sit for 5 minutes and write the answer to this. What would my highest self do today? Be specific. Not grim. Not vague. Not be kind. But when I feel disrespected in the 2 p.m. meeting, I will stay grounded and speak from clarity, not ego. Not be focused. But I will leave my phone in the other room during deep work from 10 to noon. You see, most people drift through the day with vague wishes, but the Stoics lived with deliberate vows. That's the difference. And that's how you build integrity. Because every time you follow through on what your highest self would do, you shrink the gap between who you are and who you're becoming. And every time you don't, you widen that gap. Until one day, the mirror feels unfamiliar. You don't recognize your own voice. And that, the Stoics believed, was the true tragedy, not external failure, but internal betrayal. Let me tell you about a man named Thomas. Highly accomplished, well-spoken, respected in every room. But every morning he woke up with dread, not because of what others thought of him, but because he knew he was living his values. He'd compromise under pressure. Stay silent to avoid conflict. Say yes when he meant no. Until one morning, he asked himself, what if I lived today like I already was the person I pretend to be? That one question rewired his life. He didn't transform overnight, but every morning, he recommitted to just one virtue: courage, then patience, then honesty. And with each day, he got closer not to perfection, but to alignment. That's the invitation. To stop chasing a life you admire and start practicing it. Because you don't become stoic by reading about it. You become stoic by returning to yourself every morning and asking, what kind of life is worth living? And am I building that life today? So tomorrow, Before the world gets loud, ask yourself, what would the clearest, kindest, calmest version of me do with this day? Write it down. Say it aloud. And then live it. Imperfectly. Clumsily. But honestly. Because that's where power begins. Not in control of others, but in clarity of self. Begin with release, because not everything is yours to carry. You open your eyes, and even before you move, the weight returns. Tasks left unfinished. People you're trying to please. Problems waiting in your inbox. Things you can't fix but still obsess over. It's like you're carrying a bag that fills up in your sleep. And most people, they just pick it back up without question and carry it all day. But the Stoic starts differently. They begin their morning by asking, what am I carrying that isn't mine? Because peace doesn't come from managing everything. It comes from realizing not everything is your responsibility. Epictetus said, some things are up to us, and some things are not. Our opinions, our pursuits, our desires, our aversions, these are within our power. But our body, property, reputation, and position, these are not. Read that again. Even your reputation isn't fully yours. Even your health, your job, your success, there's always a piece of it that's out of your hands. And yet, you treat these things like they're your identity. You stress when others misunderstand you. You panic when plans don't go your way. You suffer when someone rejects or criticizes you. But the Stoic sees it clearly. You are not responsible for outcomes. You are responsible for your response. That's it. And if you begin your morning with this truth, you gain back more than time. You gain back power. Because now you stop wasting energy on things that will never obey your will. Instead, you pour that energy inward, to how you speak, to how you show up, to how you respond when everything outside of you seems chaotic. So here's your morning exercise. Now let minus go list. Every morning, write down 3 things that are weighing on you but aren't fully in your control. Maybe it's someone's opinion of you, an upcoming meeting, whether your post gets traction, whether a deal goes through, whether someone texts you back. Write them, look at them, and say aloud, I do not control this. I let it go. I will focus only on what is mine. Then shift to the do, what's not to minus dos, but what is mine to do. It might be, speak truthfully, listen fully, breathe through discomfort, stay disciplined with your attention, be kind even when others are not. These things are always yours. And mastering them, that's what makes you untouchable. Let me tell you a story. There was a woman named Sarah. She ran a company. She led a team. She was always on. But inside, she was unraveling. Every criticism, every delay, every shift in someone's mood threw her into anxiety. She felt like she was failing. Constantly. Until her therapist gave her one question. Is this your load or just your concern? That question changed her mornings. She realized she was trying to control how everyone felt, how they responded, what they thought of her, how things unfolded. And she let go, not of care, but of ownership over what was never hers. She became sharper, calmer, more respected, not because she tried harder, but because she tried less in the right places. That's the Stoic path. It's not about apathy. It's about precision. It's about focusing your strength where it actually makes a difference. And every morning, you have a choice. Carry everything or carry what's yours. If you choose the latter, you walk lighter. You speak clear. You become one of those rare people who moves through life without panic, not because it's easy, but because they've trained themselves to let go. So tomorrow morning, ask yourself, what am I holding that I don't need to? And more importantly, what would I become if I stopped carrying it? Because your shoulders weren't built for everything, but they are strong enough to carry what's truly yours. That's all that ever mattered. Expect the storm and meet it calmly. Every morning, you hope for a smooth day. You hope people are kind. You hope traffic flows. You hope your body feels strong, your mind stays clear, your plans go exactly as intended. And when it doesn't, you suffer not because the events are unbearable, but because you weren't mentally prepared. Stoicism offers a powerful shift in perspective, one that might seem harsh, but is actually full of compassion. Don't hope for the day to go well. Prepare for it to go wrong and decide in advance how you'll respond. This is the practice of premedit idiomala meditation of evils. But it's not morbid. It's freedom. Because once you've imagined the worst, it no longer controls you. Let's say you wake up and tell yourself, today, someone might insult me. Not because you want it, because it happens. And now, you're ready. So when it does happen, you don't flinch. You don't personalize. You don't collapse. You don't retaliate. You respond from a place of grounded expectation, not naive surprise. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his journal, "Say to yourself in the early morning, I shall meet today with interference, ingratitude, insolence, disloyalty, ill-will, and selfishness." That was pessimism. That was mental armor. Because if you expect difficulty, you don't waste energy being outraged when it arrives. Instead, you use that energy to stay calm. Let's get practical. Here's how you can apply this. Each morning, after your breathwork or journaling, ask, what might go wrong today? List 3 things. My client might cancel. I might get a rejection email. Someone may ignore my message. I might feel doubt or fatigue. My body may. Then write the follow minus up. And when it happens, I will breathe and focus on my next action. Remind myself that my worth is not in outcomes. Pause before responding. Honor my limits without shame. Return to presence. You're not affirming bad things into your life. You're practicing emotional sovereignty. So that when the winds rise, you don't get blown off course. Here's a story. A young man named Kai practiced stoicism daily, but he kept getting blindsided by setbacks. One day, his mentor said, "You're learning the philosophy, but not practicing the preparation. Start each day expecting the test and you'll stop failing it." So Kai began every morning with a question. What challenge might arrive today? And more importantly, how will I meet it like a stoic, not a victim? The first few days, he resisted it. It felt pessimistic. But after a week, he noticed something. He stopped being shocked. He stopped overreacting. He stopped internalizing life's skirt battles as personal attacks. Why? Because now he was trained. Trained not just to breathe deeply in stillness, but to stay steady in storms. That's the transformation. This practice doesn't make life easier. It makes you stronger. And strength, in the Stoic sense, doesn't mean emotionalness. It means choosing your response, especially when it's hard. So tomorrow, as part of your morning ritual, ask, what emotion might test me today? What expectation might be unmet? What plan might fall apart? What temptation might rise? Then visualize your response. Play it out like a rehearsal. Because when the moment comes, you won't need to react. You'll already know how to stand. Calm. Ready. Composed. Like a rock that the storm crashes against yet never moves. Because here's what the Stoics understood better than anyone. You don't build resilience in the moment. You build it every morning before the moment arrives. And that's your practice now. Wake up. Expect the test. And decide I will pass it with grace. Not because it's easy, but because I've trained for it. As the last time you said thank you, and truly meant it, not out of politeness, not as a reflex, but from the depth of your being. Because here's something the Stoics knew long before neuroscience got up. A grateful mind is an unbreakable mind. Not because it's blind to pain, but because it chooses to see clearly. Seneca once wrote, "He is most powerful who has power over himself, and he has the most power who needs the least." You know what gratitude is? It's the art of needing less while experiencing more. It's seeing ordinary moments as miracles. And there's no better time to practice that art than the morning when your mind is soft. Your ego hasn't fully woken up yet, and your heart is closer to truth. But here's the thing. Gratitude isn't just a feeling. It's a discipline. And in Stoic thought, disciplines are not emotional highs. They are repeated practices daily, deliberate, and grounding. Let's make this practical. Every morning, before anything else. Before emails, before breakfast, before the weight of the world. Ask yourself one question. What do I already have right now that I would miss if it were gone? What the silence answer? Look around you. The bed that held your body. The lungs that still breathe. The eyes reading these words. The people imperfect as they are who still choose to stay. These aren't small things. They're sacred. And the more you practice seeing them, the more unshakable you become. Because here's the paradox. Most people feel poor, not because they lack, but because they've stopped noticing. And most people feel anxious, not because of the future, but because they've lost connection with the present. Gratitude is the cure for both. It grounds you. It quiets your craving for more. And most importantly, it reconnects you to now. Let me tell you a story. There was a man named Omar. He had everything: status, wealth, family, but he lived in constant anxiety. Every morning, he'd wake up and feel behind. One morning, after a health scare, he started a simple practice. Before standing up, he'd named 3 things he could lose and choose to honor them while he still had them. His breath, his son's laughter, the ability to walk unaided. At first, it felt corny, but within weeks, his mornings changed. He stopped chasing life. He started receiving it. That's the power of practiced gratitude. It's not cheesy. It's clarity. So here's how to build your Stoic morning gratitude. Anchor in the body. As you wake, feel your breath, your hands, your spine. Say, "I am alive." That alone is worthy of awe. Name 3 losses you haven't yet suffered. The love you still have. The health that still supports you. The ordinary freedoms you overlook. And feel what a gift they are. Write 1 sentence of enough. This breath is enough. This cup of tea is enough. This moment is already whole. Do this daily, even when you don't feel like it. Especially then. Because gratitude is not a mood. It's a muscle. And if you train it each morning, you will walk into your day with a mind that doesn't beg the world to be perfect. You will carry a fullness that no insult, no delay, no rejection can deplete. And when people ask, "Why are you so calm? So steady? So alive?" You'll know. Because you began your day awake. Not to your problems, but to your blessings. So let me ask you, right now, before you scroll, before you rush, before the world distracts you again, what are you already holding that you haven't paused long enough to be amazed by? Say thank you. Mean it. And then go live this day like someone who remembers what a miracle it is to simply begin again. Begin as your own master because no one else can do it for you. There is one truth that underpins every Stoic practice, every morning ritual, every breath of awareness you've cultivated. No one will save you. No mentor. No philosophy. No checklist. Not Stoicism. Not this video. Not even your past self with all their plans. You are not here to be saved. You are here to wake up. And that waking real, full, unflinching happens in the moment you finally decide. This is my life. I will live it on purpose. Let's be clear. Living on purpose doesn't mean having all the answers. It means stopping the drift. It means refusing to be ruled by every impulse, every mood, every disappointment, and every illusion someone else handed you. It means taking back the reins every morning before the day takes you. This is what the Stoics were trying to teach all along. Not how to win at life, but how to live it without being owned by it. Marcus Aurelius was an emperor. He had the world at his feet. But every morning, he reminded himself, you could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do, say, and think. Why would the most powerful man in the world write that? Because he knew all the power in the world meant nothing if you couldn't master the one thing that truly mattered, yourself. So how do you begin to master yourself? You start small. Every morning you commit not to perfection, but to presence. Not to control, but to clarity. Not to domination, but to discipline. Here's what that looks like. You wake up and before anything else, before the notifications, before the mirrors, before the opinions of others, get to shape your identity, you pause and say, I am not a slave to the world. I am not a puppet of my emotions. I am the steward of this mind, this body, this breath, this moment. You say it not as affirmation, but as orientation. Because if you don't anchor yourself, you'll be carried. Carried by fear, by comparison, by urgency, by someone else's timeline. You'll wake up already reacting, and you'll call that normal. But the Stoic says, no. Today, I begin by remembering who I am so the world doesn't tell me who to be. Let me give you a practice, the last and most powerful in this series. It's called Morning Sovereignty. It has 5 parts. 1. Reclaim your body. Before you reach for your phone, sit up. Place your feet on the ground. Feel your breath in your ribs, your weight in the world. Say this body is not decoration. It's not a punishment. It's my vessel. I honor it. Move it. Stretch. Feel where you're tight. Feel where you're numb. Wake it gently. 2. Reclaim your mind. Write 1 sentence in a journal. This is what I want to think today. Not what you expect to feel. Not what you hope happens. But the intentional thought you choose to return to, no matter what comes. Example. Nothing others do is about me. I will act with kindness, even when unreciprocated. Delays are not defeats. I remain calm. Success today is doing the next right thing. Return to this thought every time your mind drifts. 3. Reclaim your attention. Set a boundary. 1 hour with no phone, no inbox, no external input. Instead, input from within. Maybe it's journaling. Maybe it's walking. Maybe it's sitting with coffee and staring out the window. This is not wasted time. This is preparation. Because the person who enters the world already centered cannot be pulled into someone else's chaos. 4. Reclaim your presence. As you step into your day, slow down. Eat slowly. Speak clearly. Look people in the eye. Let your body lead, not your anxiety. Practice seeing the moment, not rushing through it. You are not behind. You are exactly here. And the person who can stay here wins. Not by dominating others, but by being fully themselves in a world addicted to pretending. 5. Reclaim your identity. At the end of your morning, ask, who do I want to be when things go wrong today? Because they will. Someone will interrupt you. Something will fall apart. You'll feel doubt. You'll feel fear. So decide now. Will I retreat into ego? Or will I rise into clarity? Will I let the moment own me? Or will I remain the owner of my response? That is self-minus mastery. And it's earned every single morning. Not through big wins, but through small, invisible, private decisions. It's how you hold your fork. How you say thank you. How you resist explaining yourself when you know your truth. How you smile when you want to snap. How you keep showing up when no one claps. These are the things that build you. Not as a stoic, as a sovereign human being. So let's end where we began. Not with motivation, but with meditation. Sit still. Breathe in through your nose. And ask yourself with radical honesty, am I living from the inside out? Or the outside in? The answer will tell you everything. And the good news, no matter what you find, you can begin again. Right now. Not in a week. Not after you fix your habits. Not once you feel ready. No. This moment. This breath. This is your life. And no one, no parent, no teacher, no guru, no mentor can live it for you. You are the author. So write something true. We are currently giving away a free e-book, 12 Stoic lessons that will change your life. To receive your gift, simply follow the channel and leave a comment that says, I have followed, or I would like to receive the gift. We will reply with the download link directly below your comment.